point that you realize that you are in your own way, you need to step out of the business. You can create the content, but you need to learn that you need someone to help you work within the space and grow accordingly.
This is Alan Spicer. He makes over $70,000 a year helping other creators build successful YouTube channels and brands. With over 10 years in the YouTube space, Alan obsesses over data, rules, and trends to help channels thrive as a YouTube manager, amassing millions of subscribers for other YouTube channels and acquiring quite a few play buttons along the way. His journey has been a roller coaster of success and failure, including having his first channel deleted, struggling with thousands of dollars in debt from his first business, and managing mental health struggles. But through it all, he knows that he is one of the best at what he does and has found true success in helping YouTubers get out of their own way. In this episode, we're going to discuss his early failures as a YouTuber and business owner, how he got on the path for YouTube management, how he got so good at what he does, and the secrets to how you can be a better and more profitable YouTuber. Alan really pours his heart into this episode to make sure that you know how to remove the bottlenecks in your creator journey to find the growth that you really want. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by Gigastar. So we have been friends since the literal start of my YouTube journey. And I think it's safe to say that you and I have both gone on quite the adventure along the way as creators. We're going to be having like a real personal heart-to-heart kind of moment today. You ready, Alan? Okay, so tell us, what do you create on the internet?
I currently create YouTube tutorials, mini documentaries, and just experimental stuff on and off. Initially, what I was supposed to create was funnel-based content that would lead into people finding me and then actioning me for work and stuff. But as the life of the YouTube channel continues, I've now got to a point where I get a few sponsorships. I have an end goal in mind, whether it's affiliate growth or, as I said, at the moment, I'm making little mini documentaries, which are like, where are specific YouTubers now? The reason for that is that I was curious about how it would rank and how nostalgia would work and trends. And I just kind of wander off in my brain and cater to my ADHD nature. But overall, the idea was to, funnel things into my business, get people to contact me for services and just learn the industry, really.
How did you get started on YouTube?
I've been on YouTube for around about 10 years now. And initially I was umming and ahhing about it for 2-3 years because I was watching other YouTubers and they were vlogging and they were chatting. I liked people like Philip DeFranco, Rhett and Link, the Vlog Brothers, stuff like that. And I was like, I think I could do that. Now, at the time I was a web developer. I'd started my own web development company. And I thought, right, if I can learn how these videos work, I can then start using this for my clients. I can understand how to optimize that video, how that can drive them traffic and trade. So I started creating videos to optimize. And then YouTube is a very sticky hobby. So after a while, it was like, I'll put out more videos and movie reviews and chat with the community that started building around me. And so flash forward 3-4 years, and then I realized, okay, this could be a thing, a business, an income source. It's certainly a hobby that's addictive. There's certainly communities that build around you. There's friends and really quirky people that tend to create within the space. So once I'd learnt that skill, once again, I could then harness it into a business. And hopefully, at that time, build myself out of a declining web development world into a more social space.
What's been really fun with you and me, how we started. So we were in a Facebook group that was hosted by my favorite person, Amy Landino. It was Amy Schmittauer at this time. And she was doing Veda, vlog every day in August. And so I was like, when I launch myself into the YouTube space, I'm going to do this Veda thing. And I did a video every single day. And part of what the videos were that I was making were for a podcast I had at the time called Marketing for Your Boring Business. And I remember seeing you posting in this group because part of the group was like sharing your content and like, hey, this is what we're doing. Let's support each other kind of thing through this crazy thing that we're doing. And I saw that you were doing like YouTube education. I was like, bro, you need to come on my podcast. And to say I badgered him would probably be an understatement, but your girl is persistent. When we had our conversation, and I feel like what's so significant about sharing this story is that this was when you realized you wanted to test out YouTube management. So walk us through where the idea for doing that came, especially because like in 2017, a YouTube manager was not like a thing. Like even now it's kind of not a thing. I think it's more like accepted like in the creator space and stuff. But for someone to do that as like a gig, I think was pretty unheard of. So like where did that whole thought process situation come from?
At the time that we first met, I'd just fallen out of web development because everybody had started learning that you can go to Wix and ShareSpace and other website builders, and you didn't need a custom build anymore. But the project management side of web development was still kind of in me, along with the social media side of it all. So we talked on the podcast, and I realized that, well, I've got this skill and I'm willing to teach this skill. And a lot of people want to get into the space. So why not teach them what I've learned over the last year, year and a half? And then you soon quickly realize that I suck up knowledge incredibly quickly, part of my ADHD. I'll shiny my way into a niche, I'll pick up all the info, and then I've done that, and then I'll just walk off. Like, I've achieved that because I'd already done the web development, the SEO, Google search optimization in general. YouTube kind of was synergistic. And I was like, okay, well, I can help you, and I can teach you all of the things that I needed to learn over the last 18 months, 2 years, where, how you frame yourself, how the audio is, how you light yourself, and then you can improve your videos, and then you get more customers. And then, so it was kind of evolution over time mixed with my, as I said, magpie-ish nature.
Well, it was essentially a case study, like a proof of concept. Like, can I do this? Is this a need? What is it? Can I take this thing I'm teaching someone and have them do it and then like see the results of what had happened? Like, it was 1,000% like a total guinea pig situation. I knew that going into it. Like, this is what it was. The thing that catapulted this is like, and I've talked about this very openly, I have had an editor for my YouTube channel like since day one. When I started my YouTube channel, it was because my family had moved to Korea and I needed a way to get leads to my social media marketing agency that I had had for 2 years at that point. Now, I had done a ton of networking for years. Like, I got into the social media space in like 2009, like making MySpace pages, and I did a ton of networking, going into events and talking to people. And so not being able to do that was like going to be a very big detriment to what I was trying to build with my business. And so I needed leads, and YouTube was that leads because I read Amy's book, Vlog Like a Boss. She talked about it. I was like, I'm going to use this as my guide. It's still all super relevant, which is really funny to me, like 8 years later, and make those things happen. And so when we were talking, I told you I have an editor, and you were like, and I remember you messaged me being like, yo, how much do you pay your editor? And I was like, it's some like college kid side hustling through Fiverr. Like, I am not married to him. It's like, this is how much I'm getting paid. And you were like, well, would you pay me this? And I'll do the editing, and I'll also do, I think it was like titling and thumbnails. And I was like, hold on a second. You'll do that for me and save me more time because I'm a mom with babies and a military life and 1,000 other things I have to do. Sign me up, take my money. And like, so it became this situation of like, there was a need I had that I didn't know completely that I needed. Like, having someone do my titles, having someone do my thumbnails for me was like a really big deal. But then for you to be able to like practice and study, not just for your own channel, but for somebody else's that was sort of adjacent, because we were both in like the learning space, right? We were both in the like how to education space, but like prove the concept that like it's replicatable. And so that journey, that case study, I know was really invaluable for you. So what did you learn from doing that, and how did you parlay that into more money?
The timing of that was very apt for the viewers or listeners. A little rewind. I was literally, when I say I fell out of web development, my design company had died because I could get clients, but it was very feast or famine. Hey, can I have a website? Yes. $1,500 for an e-commerce website, and you'd do okay on that, but then you wouldn't get a client for 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. And there's no way that you can pay your rent on that. And over time, I absolutely crashed. I was managing a team of 6 Indian web developers with advertising costs and stuff like that. I plunged myself into 30, 40 grand's worth of debt, and I was hemorrhaging and struggling. So I filed for what we call in the UK an IVA, which is a independent voluntary arrangement. It's like bankruptcy, but agreeing that yes, it's my debt and I'll pay you something, rather than just like, bye, and Donald Trumping your way out of the business. So because of that, I was like, right, okay, I've got all this knowledge. How can I like this YouTubey thing. And this last Desiree, okay, her videos could be better, and I know I could do better because I've been editing myself. So messaged you, we arranged a fee, I saw the need, I saw the angle. And then what I did is I learned how to interact with that client, how to figure out their needs, understand where they wish to scale to, parlay it along with my existing knowledge into a kind of business model going forward. So I understand, okay, if I can do this for Desiree, I can do it for other people, I can do it for myself, I can build up my YouTube income through AdSense and other things as well, and just generally learn the environment that it's built within. As Desiree grew, I knew that I had other skills that I could offer. So as she scaled up, I scaled up with her, which then I learned how to do podcast editing, how to do newsletter creation and things like that. So we was kind of learning together as we grew. Desiree took on more and more clients. I had capacity to do continual editing. So once again, we grew that way. She was able to kind of use me as a wholesale base for her editing, and I was able to get clients and expertise on this way, and it worked very well. The problem for Desiree is that over time it worked so well that we kind of outgrew each other. So either she had too many clients or I had too many clients, or a bit of both. And we came to an arrangement that, like, hey, I'll help you with your new editor until I disappear, and then I'll go off and go for it. Basically, I moved from video editor to learning every string all the way up to project manager, and then I got a large project management client, and then I couldn't really do the rest. And I've forever worked solo. Since web development, I've kept my company rather lean, because in a business where you've got 6 employees, you have 6 people to pay before you pay yourself. And I always went out the way. No one's never not been paid by me. Everything that I've ever done, everyone's always been paid. It's always been me that suffered. And at the time, that was fine, because I was 25 to 30 years old. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have any kids. So you can kind of ramen your way through life at that point without any problems. And then when I started to build up the experience and I was able to show the case studies of this is what I've done for this client, all in one social media, was able to go down that route and then use those as case studies and get the consulting clients and the project management clients. And then I've just stepped up ever since, really. But it showed that there was growth there. There was a need there. And there still is. As the social media space grows, it's become more and more obvious that this is the new industry. YouTube's been around for 20 odd years now. People are used to it. People expect it and understand it. So therefore, these job roles exist. Who else is going to edit your videos? Who else is going to change your tire or wash your patio? There's always somewhere that a need is required. You find the need, you find your solution, and there's your business.
How you've built up like becoming a YouTube project manager, YouTube consultant, like however we're like wording it based on like what people need. It started off with this idea that like, this is a thing I can do. This is a thing that one person needs based on skills and experience. And that's how I grew as a social media marketer, like way back in the day, like right 2009. People are like, what's this Facebook thing? I'm like, oh, Facebook's this thing that does this. It's like, well, can I use this for my business? It's like, absolutely, you can. Let me tell you how. And they're like, well, that sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, it is, because running a business and marketing a business is a lot of work. And they're like, well, can you just do it for me? And I was like, I can figure out how. Like, that's kind of that idea of like, I don't know, but let me find out kind of an example. And like being able to have those case studies where you can charge enough to like cover your nut, but then like use it for cases. Like even now, 15 years later, I have a client I am onboarding where I am doing that exact same thing. I'm like, okay, I need a proof of concept. I need to see if I like this. I need to see if I can like manage this and like from a time perspective and an output perspective and provide them what I said I would. And I need to charge them enough to cover it to make it worth my time, but like be able to like, okay, this is the contract, this is what it is. And like have that chunk of money to then go like, okay, this is the bee's knees, or this is like not something I want to do. Then be able to like, look, I did this for these people with the glowing testimonial, of course. And then be like, Now I'm going to go to these other customers. I'm going to charge 2 to 3x that because that's what it's actually worth. And I know you and I did that because you and I have grown as individuals and business professionals in this YouTuber space, literally together, doing separate but similar things. And so it's been so interesting to watch you reflect on that. So as you've grown, you figured out all of this stuff, and then you left the world of Desiree because you outgrew me, which is always exactly what you want someone to do who you work with, right? You want someone to outgrow you because they have done the personal development parts. What happened next? What was the next phase in your creator YouTube manager journey?
The next step was I was aware that I needed to develop multiple forms of income because of the lesson that I learned from web development, that one income can disappear very quickly. I needed to make sure that I expanded my base. So not only am I consulting, but after a lot of nagging and coaching from a lady that I happen to be on the podcast with, I started taking people on retainers rather than one-off fees. The piecemeal problem when it comes to web development or anything, it's like, here, I'll sell you this once, here's the fee, and they're gone, is there's no recursive income from that point on. So you have to do the legwork over and over and over again to find, seduce, find the issue, sell, do the product, and they're gone. And there's no ongoing relationship building there. Whilst if you're on a retainer in which you know there's a recursive income, not only are you more secure knowing that that client's going to be around for a while, but there's the understanding that there's room for development and growth and forward planning. It's not just a smash grab where they've got their individual thing and gone. You can actually build things with that client. Hi, where do you want to be in 6 months' time? Where do you want to be in 12 months' time? Let's backwards engineer that. Let's see what we need to do here. We could do step by step. These are the videos that you need to make. This is the blogs that you need to do. And that was my forward drive. I wanted to make sure that I had a consulting income. I wanted to make sure that I had an affiliate income because I'm making these videos and I'm learning these things anyway. So why not monetize them? I wanted to make sure that if any of these 4 or 5 pillars disappear, that the others can support me. And this was out of fear and out of necessity because at around about this time, a family came into my life. I've got my partner, I've got my, at that stage, a 2-year-old daughter, and roll forward now, an 8-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. So it's that point when I didn't just have to cater to my ramen needs, but the family's ramen needs, that I needed to upgrade accordingly. So this is where my ADHD magpie nature really helps. So over time, I was able to go, okay, so with this client, I've learned crypto, and with that client, I've learned social media, and with this client, I've learned kids-based content. And as you learn each nuance of each niche, you realize what things connect to each other, what things are very unique to each other. And then based on my web development knowledge in the past and my SEO skills, I could go, hi, kids channel, you need to do this, this, and this. How about an app? Hi, social media person, you've got a website, but you haven't really been working on this new thing called TikTok and blah, blah. So collecting this knowledge is the basis of it all. But I collected the knowledge through proxy. I'll have a look at this piece of software, and I'll have a look at this, like, white paper or research paper or whatever it needs to be. So developing going forward, making sure that everything's balanced, then you can protect yourself from problems. And now I'm a nightmare at general knowledge quizzes because I know either Taylor Swift is dating an American football player, or I can tell you the market, the fully diluted market cap of an altcoin in cryptocurrency that 90% of you won't know for 7 years.
I'm convinced that social media marketers are going to eventually have multiple personality disorders because of all the vast things that they have to know and stuff like that. I'm sure that can expand into like YouTube management, client retention management. You said something very interesting, which was about you need to have multiple streams of income because you've learned from web development, like when one goes away, it doesn't like if you lose a client or something happens and like where's the money coming from. What's so interesting to me when like I reflect on being a creator, I can only think of 2 places where I hear about having multiple streams of income on a constant basis is 1 in the creator space, and 2 from like multi-bajillionaires who are like, oh yeah, I have to like, you have to diversify your portfolio. You need to own all these different kinds of businesses while also doing this stock thing and having this system in place and all of that kind of stuff. Like that's not a common conversation or a common outlook or way that we do things. But in the creator space, multiple streams of income is like talking about like, did you see what happened to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey at the water cooler? It is so incredibly like common and such a necessary thing in our space. What do you think it is from your YouTube manager experience? What do you think it is that brands need to do and creators need to do, because they're separate, brands and creators, to successfully execute on multiple streams of income?
My suggestion, personally for myself, is to work on setting up each one at a time, followed by then boosting them. If you try and set up 6 social media channels immediately and then juggle all of them all at the same time, then you're going to struggle, because running one YouTube channel is a nightmare. Running 6 YouTube channels is 6 times nightmare. And it's learning each skill. In my case, because I do it all myself, it's a bit slower, but I set up each individual one at a time, get it to a point where it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to exist. Okay? So you set up each individual income and then you go back and kind of top it up, learn the knowledge going forward. So I do blogging, I do YouTube, I do consulting, I do affiliate incomes, I do one-off fees via my own website. Each one of these will get a chunk of my attention over time. Or as the income generates its own income in itself, you can actually set itself to prop itself up. So I set it up, I make it profitable, I bring somebody in to do that job, I move on to the next one, I set that up, I bring up. So whether it's a blogger, whether it's a YouTube consultant, whether it's someone helping me with my affiliate income or my affiliate going out to find the sponsors, or it happens to be. But you have to do the initial legwork to set it up and then try to automate all of the things that you can automate within reason, because automation will help you. Being able to run all of these things myself drive me insane. Otherwise, getting people in to help or getting systems in place that will help me, whether it's a tool like the Eggpoot Suite, that kind of thing to tweet things out and schedule things, whether it's a blogging mill where you pay them, you give them all of the details that they want to go with, and then they'll write the content, or you can use AI nowadays, because you can use AI for everything. I'm not even here. This is an AI depiction of a sarcastic
Not true. Not true.
Englishman.
Totally,
This
Alan.
is
It is a
Sora.
little concerning for me
This is
because
Sora AI. So yeah.
no, no. It's funny to me because it is a more polished version of Alan, because this recording version, Alan doesn't swear. But I love what you talk about though, about like systems and hiring things out, because I think that's a thing that so many people don't realize. And I realized this very early on, again, in the social media space. So many people were like, why would I hire you to do this when I could just have like a member of my team do it, or my kid do it? It was always the worst one. Or like have an intern do it. It's like, I mean, you're talking about, you want to have the best professionals in place to help make sure something happens so that you can have your brand protected and talked about the best possible way. You think about it, like, would you ever just have like your kid or some member of your staff do your taxes or write your legal contracts, right? Like they're just that kind of thing. Like, and I know for you in England, you don't have the tax situation that we do, but like it's a lot of work to do taxes in the United States and all that kind of stuff. I know for me, when I think about even like this podcast that we do, we use Riverside to record it because it has a lot of tools built into it that make it helpful. You know, recording natively high quality video content. We're able to have the transcripts. We're able to get like, they have AI built into the tool to like create magic clips for like vertical video sharing that we use on TikTok. And then we're also able to like get like really great show notes so that like we can get the summary and the timestamps for when things happen. Like it makes things very easy. We have an editing service that we use to put it all together that makes it look polished and nice the way that it's supposed to. We have a custom thumbnail service where they create our thumbnails for us. Actually, what they did is they created a template, and then myself or my team were the ones that are adjusting it to make it all work. And then we're using Adobe Express to get all the final graphics set. There's a lot of things that go into making something work the way that it's supposed to. And it didn't always used to be that way, obviously. And yes, you can start and build something with very minimal tools, but you get to this point in scaling where you have to invest in resources to help you remove the labor and time commitment that you have within things. And then you end up having to go buy other people's time to help you be more successful. As a YouTube manager, this is something that I think people I'd love for you to share, like, at what point do you think a YouTube manager is something for creators to consider? And what do they need to look for in a YouTube manager if, like, you are not available?
The bottlenecks that you find within YouTube sneak up and slap you in the face. When you're first starting a YouTube channel, you'll be full of excitement, full of ideas. You'll want to record 50, 60 billion videos, and then you'll realize that you'll need to edit them. And you'll be fine for the first few months. You'll edit away because it's this brand new, shiny, like, hobby that you love. Great. But then over time, you'll realize that depending on how many videos that you want to put out, what your life commitments happen to be, life will always get in the way. Whether it's health, whether it's family, whether it's weather, whether it's COVID, whether it's something. And unless your content is contained in an environment that you control, so I'm very lucky that I can sit here and I can make tutorials sat where I need to be, or I book a hotel room and I blast through content. Once again, another little trick that I learned from Desiree when she was writing her book. So once you're able to create that content, but then you struggle to post-produce it, this is where you can start looking for help. So you being the focus of your YouTube channel, you are very time poor. You will need to record those videos, you will need to edit those videos, you will need to create the direction that content happens to be going in. I tend to find that most of the people that instruct me have been kicking and screaming for 3, 6, 8 months, and now they're like, okay, so we're doing the YouTube content regularly, but we don't. Why is it not growing? Where's it? Okay, this is because yes, you may be uploading the videos, but how good are your thumbnails? Are you looking into the pseudoscience of how a title can make you curious or hook you with some kind of answer? Is it SEO driven? Is there a curiosity gap that makes you go, oh, I wonder? These are the things that you need to learn, or you need to outsource accordingly. So you may be willing to edit it, but have you done the tags, the descriptions? Are you doing the third party processing on things like TikTok and Twitter, because I'm old, because I'm never calling it X, and all these other places? So at this point, I need to teach them the next level beyond just what everyone thinks YouTube is. Record stuff, throw it up, hope that someone finds it. There truly is a level above just hobby into actually making it a business. And at the point that people realize that it's no longer a hobby, we need to make money out of it, or we are making money out of it. How do we make the most of this to grow it? That's when people contact me. Or they're at the top end of the funnel where they've maximize it to the best of their ability and their knowledge and them reading. And this is where all of those years of anecdotal advice and learning and my shiny magpie syndrome can go, I learned this from this client that you can implement over here. And that's where my advice is more valuable to people, because they've not had to go out and do 20 years of this learning. They can import it into their business, plug and play, grow, and away they go.
To simplify what you're saying, list out when someone needs a manager.
When you feel that you are your own bottleneck, at the point that you realize that you are in your own way, you need to step out of the business. Okay? You can create the content, but you need to learn that you need to help someone to help you work within the space and grow accordingly. So if you think that you are too slow for video editing, you've recorded 7 videos, but you can only edit 1 a week, and you really want 3 videos a week up on your YouTube channel, you need a video editor. If you upload all of these videos, but you've got a bad title and you've got a bad thumbnail, and it's just not having the social reach, but you don't know that skills and you can't learn it, that's the bottleneck. And you need to import the expertise to help you there. And it's the same with anything. Like, well, you may have a really successful channel, but you're not monetizing it properly. Why aren't I getting sponsorships? How do they do this affiliate thing? Once again, you are now the bottleneck of your blissful ignorance, and you import somebody that knows that section to help you. And most of the time, if you import somebody in to help, they kind of pay for their own job by the growth that they bring in. Because if if I go to a large YouTube channel and just increase their views by 2%, and they go from 1 million views to, you know, an extra 20, 30,000 views, that's another sponsorship arrangement. That's another. So don't be afraid to hire. And you can find them in many places. Whether
Agreed.
you're 5 people per hour, Upwork, just ask people in the scene. You'll be amazed. Everyone's around somewhere, and everyone has a skill.
What's important too, I think, to note to add on to what you're saying, especially because we've seen this a lot lately, because when we were recording this, we're kind of coming out of that whole like everyone was quitting era. And it's kind of the idea, it's like it's important to find balance where having someone like Alan as like your YouTube manager, it's almost like having someone who's in charge of like the operations of making the business of your YouTube channel work. That way you can focus on creative. When you're hiring people and you're kind of like, okay, I need an editor. Okay, I need someone whose job is to manage sales and sponsorships and stuff like that. Okay, now I need somebody whose job it is to like do all the social media marketing and like they do the emails and the blogging, the repurposing. Like those, then you become, those are people that are helping you expand by taking labor off your table. But it then also will turn around and put a new labor onto your table, which is employee management. And that can be a very slippery slope. I really like what Abdul said and talks about like his book. And I watched this in the COO podcast that they do with Rescreen, where he is like, I am the only person Ali generally deals with. Like, it's my job as this operations manager to make sure everything else is working the way that it's supposed to so that they can focus on the work. So he can focus on the work of being a creator. We know we need these other things. And he'll say, yes, no, like we need to get this and we'll do this and we'll have this kind of stuff. And yes, no to all these things. But he's having that one point of contact. In your creator business, well, like I know Ali's in a different place with like, you know, his multi-million followers and, you know, probably 5 to 6 figure brand deals and all that kind of stuff. Like, well, we're hoping to get to that point. In order for him to get to that point, his operations manager started off as his editor. Like that's how he started off, as like these small little tasks, and he evolved within the business, which is what I know you have done, what you and I had done together for years accidentally. Like, again, this is a whole idea of like getting in on the groundwork of something and building something out and seeing what does and doesn't work and testing things out. And you and I, like, we went through this process here. It wasn't pretty. There were some times where I literally was like yelling at you, like, why are you messing this up? You cost us this client because this ball you dropped it. Like, and that was an important client to me, and I lost him, and I have not been able to mend that relationship. But that's part of growing as a creator and as a person, as a business professional. So you figure out like, what is it that we need to do to be better, so that when we come at things a year to 5 years later, which is like where you and I are at right now, that isn't the case, as we had that lesson that we learned and we can move forward. So like, even now in my business, I have a project manager, and she's the one that handles a lot of like the management things, the calendar, making sure everything is getting done, that the person's getting the stuff that they need and stuff like that. And you act as that role for creators, especially when it's very specific to like what they're doing with YouTube. And I love what you talked about, how like helping them find solutions to things. Like if you need more sales or more stuff, like, okay, let's go find this person because that's going to help you with that, and helping them navigate something they don't know. Because as creators, we know how to create stuff. We're not necessarily good at running businesses or brands or figuring out how to expand and grow intuitively. Very similar to how like a plumber knows how to plumb. They don't know how to run a plumbing business. It's very different. Right. And so it's really, I think, important for people to expect that and know that with managing.
Because I am a solopreneur and I juggle all of these things, I have to split my energy 8 ways. But if I bring somebody in to do 4 or 5 of my tasks, I can then use that additional energy within me to make better content or more content, which then scales up better. I think it was Marquise Brownlee that said it best, that slowly over time you just cut pieces off of you. So in the end, it's just him, the creator, not him, the researcher, the video editor. Like he now just focuses solely on creation, and everything else is taken away, and he can make much more powerful stuff because he doesn't have to spend his mental energy in the other things.
For sure. And like, I think it's important for us to think through that. So when someone's looking for a YouTube manager, what are the things that they should look for?
I would definitely say previous experience certainly helps. Now, does that mean that they have to be a YouTube personality? No. Does that mean that they have to have their own personal YouTube channel? No. but they have to understand how everything is connected with itself. Why does a title need to be the way it is? What's the psychological triggers that somebody undergoes when they're flicking through a YouTube channel? Because, yes, a video could be titled Iceland Vlog #1. Well, that was helpful. What's so useful in that video? Like, you need to deep dive into the psychological triggers within that video. What's the value add to the person? You need to craft a curiosity or an answer to their need in the title, and then you craft that description accordingly. So you need to have someone that can be fairly creative or is willing to learn. The one thing that I've learned on him, just my skill setting alone, is like, if I'm not sure, don't worry, I can find out. And you can find out so much more these days. You can sit there and literally talk to a learning model with ChatGPT or Gemini or anything else, and they will teach you things and advise you. If you're not quite sure how do you do it, they'll do step-by-step things. Okay? So when you come to hiring a YouTube consultant or a channel manager, you need someone that's willing to learn, that understands the basics in general. It needs to understand how to edit things, how titles work, the psychology behind titles. You need to understand what the thumbnails could be. You need them to be willing to research and watch hours and hours of YouTube content. That play button there is for a company called Woof and Joy, which is an animation studio based in Ukraine that did kids TV. I hadn't dealt with kids TV content before, other than obviously my own kids. So the amount of kids TV content that I had to binge for 8 months on other YouTube channels to figure out, why does that video do well? Why did they make that? Why are they the biggest channel within that industry? Why this way rather than that way? Thumbnail colors, branding arrangements, links. Why can't they link to certain things? Blah, 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 blah. So you need someone that's proactive enough to go out and learn. A thirst for that industry. Truly someone that is excited about everything that they do, because if they're excited, they'll go out and they'll learn it. I haven't had to master podcasts since doing it for Desiree, but I now have that skill because she needed to know how to upload them, master them, strip them into mono, title them, do show notes and stuff like that. So someone that is curious and willing to learn, a thirst for knowledge, that has the base, some decent SEO basis, and then a key skill that they can lean on. So you could start with them being a designer that is curious, or in my case, I was a web development specialist that was okay at video editing that got curious, and then I just collected a load of other skills. And then someone that can communicate. Because if you can't communicate, they're not going to learn. They're not going to realize the mistakes they did or didn't make, and then they can grow from there. So as long as you can talk to them, you're comfortable that they're willing to learn, and they're just out there to binge YouTube, then that's a good base. And then they're malleable from there. You could find a project manager and bring them down, but then you've got a high value position to start with that you're back teaching. It's always better to grow with them than trying to tempt them down from the silver plated castle in the sky.
So now's the time where we're going to dive into our pie chart. We're going to be learning about how much a YouTube manager makes through all of his residual income. So our first and foremost, we have AdSense. I'm presuming that AdSense comes from your personal YouTube channel,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and your YouTube channel is all about like YouTube education and nostalgia and all kinds of varieties of content that is, of course, super interesting and has really evolved over time. Your next one is sponsorship. Share with us your sponsorships and like how you've been able to position those deals.
Because I'm in the educational space, people are willing to... it's a very lucrative business because it imparts a level of trust. You have to trust my knowledge enough for me to teach you about a specific thing, and then me advise that I use this software product, then converts very well. Compared to, say, Mr. Beast, who shouts and screams. If he was to stop out of nowhere and just go, "Ah! Squarespace!" You're like, what? How's blowing up a train anything to do with a web developer platform? So the advantage I have is, as I've built up a reputation as an educator, and there's a back catalogue of proof that I know specific things or know how to talk about platforms and how to educate on a specific niche, then people will come to me based on the pain points of that niche. So in my case, yes, you need help with optimization. So you can either do it yourself, or you can use possibly the best tool on the market with TubeBuddy. And then you can maybe have a look at things like vidIQ, Morningstar, that kind of thing. And because I'm in that space, they trust me to talk about this wonderful tool of TubeBuddy. And I can highlight this is how it helped made my life better, titles, descriptions, templates, that kind of thing. And then I can implement them accordingly. So I can go to TubeBuddy or say a dubbing service like rev.com or anybody else. I can say, my audience is an educational based platform and they're learning from me how to create content within that niche. So I think my audience would be perfect for your dubbing service, Mr. Rev.com, or your optimization service, Mr. TubeBuddy. And this is the reason why, and it's kind of synergistic. So we kind of sell down that route and they'll see the value within, and then I bring the audience. A recent example for me is I've done 4 deep dives into multi-language audio with a company called Voquent. They are a human-based dubbing service rather than AI-based dubbing service. So the need here was, do you not want to use AI because it might get you flagged? Do you really want to use human-sounding voices? Then I explain in a video the top 10 languages for YouTube. By the way, if you dubbed your languages using this human thing. So it's, once again, a synergistic need, a pain point, and a solution. The company gets the benefit of my reputation to sell their product and service. I get to humanize it in a way that isn't random jargon that nobody understands. And then I get to pitch it into content that works for me as well. And then it sits there and accrues sales, reputation, and growth. And when it comes to things
Yes.
like advertisements on the internet, do you really want to pay for a little banner that nobody clicks anymore? Or do you want a human interaction with a service that goes, I've personally used this and this can help you? So there's a different touch there. So me going out the way, either they approach me now, or initially when you're a small minnow, you go to them and you say, hey, I know I'm small, I've only got 1,000 people, but those 1,000 people are really engaged and they're really, really into knitting tennis balls, right? And we really like your specific style. Can we have that specific pattern? Or can we have that bag? Or can we have that? Whatever that product or service happens to be. And then you tell them what value you can give them as a brand or a service. And then you slowly over time build that trust. I was working with one of the SEO expert companies for a period of time just as an affiliate before they then offered me a consulting role. I was then with them for 18 months or so. So get your foot in the door, build proof, and then it grows over time. And then once you've got those examples, you can point at the examples. Back to the case study. One sponsorship shows, hey, this is how I do sponsors. And then later they just snowball into your average normal creator life.
What's really good too about what I know you've done with your sponsorship, and we've talked with Nick Nimmin and Roberto Blake about this too, is like sponsorships also come with affiliates. And so you have the affiliates actually is that your sponsorships make up 10% of your income, but your affiliates make up 15. That's because when someone's a sponsor, you become an affiliate and then you can continue to get sales even after that sponsorship is done to continue to grow that income. Now, your next thing that you have on here, I'm just gonna say is like, because I give a small percentage that you get from Amazon and creator programs, you have your consulting and speaking, which makes up half of your income, which I know is from your YouTube management work. And then you have 20% as a service. What is different between the service you offer and your consulting and speaking that you do?
The services that I have on my own website are entry-level things these are the one-off clients, the ones that want to come in, want one thing, and then they will leave, right? I'm a firm believer and a huge zealot for a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. And Desiree knew it was going to happen. She's probably got a timer. She's just pressed the clock, and it took Alan 40 minutes to mention Gary Vaynerchuk. Remove the friction of anything within your business for your client and your customers. They might not want to come to me for a retainer fee of X amount of thousands per month for me to be their dedicated YouTube guru, but they might be willing to drop £200-300 on a specific need or pain or niche, or they are early in their creative journey and they want to pay piece rate. So I have on my website the ability to just buy an hour of my time or buy a deep dive report or buy a specific service, because then that way they can make that commitment wherever they are in their bottleneck, or I can identify their bottleneck for them. So having the services on there gives them a choice to pick from the buffet. And that's one of the biggest things that has ever helped me, because throwing yourself in all in, here you go, you can only have me and you can own, that's it, I'll be exclusive, but here's my set fee, it scares people away. But if someone comes to me and they pay initially, like it was like $75 for just a channel report, once again started the process with this little madam, and then slowly over time that report, now I sell a written report for close to $800. But it was all because I learned how to do the report over time. They get that report, they get that need, they understand what they need to do, and they can go from there. And I have multiple options for multiple people. So my biggest suggestion is, yes, have your services sliced down to help people. And once you've created it once as well, you can sell it over and over and over and over again, dependent on how much you are tweaking for personalization, whether it's a design pack, whether it's a template system, whether it's a load of pre-generated files, whether it's a online course that you're selling that they can walk their way through. Try and cater to everybody, but meet them where they need to be, because then that way they can satiate their need, and then they're in your funnel. They know that you've done a good job and they can come back to you when they grow. In 2-3 years' time, you may have bought a report down here and you might trust me now through that report, buy a retainer up here as well.
To wrap up our conversations like we always do, share with us, Alan, what is your next money move?
This year is an interesting one. It took me 10 years to get one of these silver play buttons. It took me 1 year to get 3. This year is my acceleration. The amount of contacts I've made in the last 12 months has been amazing. And this is compound interest. Now I've got to a point where I'm ready to automate my own systems. I'm going to go out there and start mingling with people. I'm the most antisocial creator in the world. But I'm going to at least 2 conferences this year, TubeFest in Birmingham, UK, and I'm looking to go through Vid Summit at the end of the year, mainly to meet people that I've never met, and in some case, people in the flesh. I'm looking to grow my business through finally implementing the thing that I've been teaching people to do for the last 10 years. I've got my pillars and they are built now. I need to automate them accordingly, right, with people. And I'm now also learning through my ADHD magpieing how to invest that income. So I'm now learning day trading, forex trading, crypto trading, because if I add a new skill to my portfolio every year and set up a pillar every year, right, then instead of having one income, you will have 20 by the time you're, I don't know, 40, because I'm old now. And I weren't old when I met you.
Okay. Once upon a time, we were all young. Now we're all elder statesmen up in this space. Like, I know when I started, I was 32, so I get it. As I'm like, ooh, I turned 39 this year. It's gonna be
Well, that's
interesting.
it. So if you set up one project, and it's not hard. Like if you set up learn one new skill a year, and I don't mean master it. You don't need to be Usain Bolt of the world. You just need to be good enough to be dangerous with it. Okay? If you go out your way, watch a load of blogging content, learn a blog. If you go out your way, learn how to do paid advertising. If you go out there and learn affiliate marketing, you have to be enough to be dangerous enough at it that it can earn you an income. And if you've got 20 incomes that earn you $100 a pop, right? Then you're starting to snowball and you become bulletproof over time.
For sure. And I think it's also important within what you're talking about too, is like, it is not about starting this creator journey and then be like, boom, I need 10 passive income streams. Like when we go through our spreadsheet, like I include 17 options in there, and like the last one is other, because there's still some income streams that like we don't know about yet that other people are able to do. Like, you know, you have a service you provide for YouTube consulting. That's not something a lot of people can do. And not even YouTube consulting, it's YouTube management. Like it's this very, you know, specific skill. And I think it's important to know, like, you can build passive income streams slowly, and they can be unconventional or as common as everybody else is doing them. And that is okay, as long as you are doing the work and giving value to your audience and making that green. Like that is what matters mostly here on the Funded YouTuber podcast. So as always, Alan, thank you so much for your time and your talents and all that you do to make the creator world a little bit better. Until next week. Peace. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by Gigastar, a parent company of Gigastar Market, an SEC-registered funding portal and member of FINRA. Learn more at gigastar.io. Music provided by APM Music, unrivaled music to bring your stories to life. Neither Gigastar nor its affiliated companies provide legal, regulatory, financial, or tax advice. Any opinions expressed herein are those of the authors and are the informational purposes only. The information and opinions expressed herein are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investments, objectives, financial situation, or needs of any specific investors.